Like the lotus flower, in whose beauty the philosopher Buddha is said to have found peace of mind, the scenes I watched throughout Thailand of the people at work in the rice paddies also left me feeling serene. The children at play and the parents watching over their little ones reminded me that the most important thing I had learned during my journey so far was that sharing was what I wanted to do with my life. And I did just that in some of the schools. Imagine their laughter as I tried to act out the word snake. But as I was soon to discover, Thailand had a more ominous side.
Certainly the most frightening time I had on my walk, and the closest I came to death, was to occur in southern Thailand on a stretch of road that most people say is more dangerous than anywhere else in the world. I was walking down that road late at night because it was the monsoon season and it was so hot during the day that I couldn't stand it. And sure enough, about 11:30 that night, I looked over to the right in the weeds by the road, and there were two bandits with machetes waiting to kill me. At first I didn't know what to do because I was so frightened, but then I took the umbrella that I was carrying in my right hand. During the daytime I usually used it to keep the sun off me. And I took that umbrella and I pointed it at the two bandits and I went, "Halt, or I'll shoot you." I tried to make them think it was a gun, but it didn't work too well because they could see the stripes on that umbrella cloth. So I had no choice after a while but to turn and run back down the road the way I'd come. And while I was running, my backpack was just bouncing up and down like this and was weighing me down, so I couldn't go very fast. And the big ugly one of the two bandits finally came around on my left, and he cut me off in front, and I couldn't go any further. So I had to take that umbrella and use it like a club and beat him on the head and the shoulders with it. And I was screaming. I was delirious. I was out of my mind because I was going to die, and I knew it. And the other one, the other bandit, finally came up, and he grabbed my backpack, and he pulled me back like this, like though he was going to pull me clear back onto the ground. And he swung up his machete, and the blade hit me right there, hit the frame on my backpack right there. If it hadn't hit that little piece of metal, it would have gone right through my head. Well, I thought then, I'm dead. There's no way out of this. But incredibly enough, the guy in front suddenly was running off the road, and nobody was chopping me up from behind, and coming down the road was a pair of headlights. I ran towards the headlights, just waving my umbrella, what was left of it, and stretching my legs across the road after a certain point so there was no way it could get around me. And it stopped. And I ran around to the side, and I tried to get into the back of it, but I couldn't because it was piled with pineapples. And then I ran to the passenger door, and I tried to get in there. And I looked in there, and those poor people, their eyes were that big. They didn't know who this big, tall, white beanpole was that was trying to get into their truck with this ragged umbrella. And the farmer put the truck into gear and started to take off. But I knew that I had to get on that truck because the bandits were still there in the weeds. And as soon as they saw that it wasn't the police, they'd be up to finish me off. So I took the door, and I just flung it open like that, and I tried to claw my way in there. And I was clawing, but I couldn't get in there because it was such a little cab. And all I could do was to grab the poor farmer's wife and to hold on to her as tightly as I could. And she screamed her head off, but I was screaming much, much louder. And they just dragged me with my feet and my legs, just dragging on the road for 2 miles back to this police post. And there I managed to tell the police what was going on, and they went off to get the bandits on their little motorcycle, but by then the bandits were gone. I should have died, and I was very, very frightened. And that night, as I lay on the police post floor, with the ants biting me and hundreds of mosquitoes just buzzing outside of the net trying to get to me, and a lizard crawling across the dingy yellow ceiling, and the sounds of all the swamps out there, I said to myself, "Go home, Steve. Is this worth dying for?" I thought for sure that there was no way I was going to live. Surely in the other 900 kilometers that were awaiting me before Malaysia, there had to be 1 million more bandits out there waiting to kill me. I wanted to give up, and I probably came the closest to giving up on this entire journey that night. But I pushed on. Sometimes I still don't know why, but I did, because I just knew I couldn't give up and give in to my fears.
The Buddhist monks I passed every day on the road provided me the refuge I needed at night from the bandits. Into the protective sanctuary of their monasteries I would venture each evening. Their great serenity and compassion made it easier for me to carry on. In the silent cathedrals of northern Malaysia's rubber forests, time itself seemed to disappear, along with my thoughts. Thus, to suddenly come upon the cacophony of a forest village preparing for some kind of ritual was quite a shock. I watched as they paraded a Hindu goddess to the village and then burned a huge fire and spread the coals. It was a fire walk. It was all I could do to keep my eyes in my head as one plantation worker after another strode across the 20-foot-long pit of extremely hot coals. And certainly not helping my squirming any were the several dazed women who did their share of celebrating by piercing their faces with very, very wicked-looking metal pins. I had witnessed many strange things on my walk, but none quite as amazing as this. I passed quickly, and safely I might add, through the rest of the truly exotic country of Malaysia to my final Asian port of call, the ultra-modern city of Singapore.